We knew going into tonight we were in for a long night. We were also in for a great night of professional wrestling. A 10 match card, a pay per view that many wrestling fans around the world have been looking forward to for a long time. And yes, it did deliver. Of course it did. It is AEW on pay per view. What do you expect? This was an incredible show. Was it perfect? No. It certainly had its flaws. And for the people, two things. Number one, for the people complaining about the length of the show, it's just something that's never going to get changed. Do I love it? No, honestly, I don't love it, but it's never going to get changed. There's absolutely matches that took place on tonight's show that could have been saved for Dynamite or could have been saved for Collision. Um, this match could have had this show could have been 7 matches and it would have been perfect. But we didn't get that. We got 10 instead, and it was still an incredible pay per view. Um, it's just it's just what WWE does, and it's what AEW does. AEW, how they orchestrate their pay per views is you get a ton of matches, you get a lot of time with the matches, and it's just all wrestling, all guns blazing. And you know what? I love it that way. It is long, but I love it. WWE, it's a very long show, but there's 4 or 5 matches besides outside of WrestleMania and SummerSlam. It's 4 to 5 matches. There's tons of commercial breaks. And fans like that too because of the breaks in between matches, I guess. The WWE fans are conditioned to that. At this time, at this point, we're conditioned to how these companies run pay per views. WWE, they don't have a lot of matches, they have a lot of advertising on their shows. AEW has a lot of matches, they go very late. I mean, Christ, it is. I'm recording this at 12:55 a.m. I have to go to work in 6 hours. I'm going to be very tired going to work tomorrow. But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. Because for a show like this tonight, it was worth it. It was 100% worth it. It was worth it, the $50. Thank God I did not order that on HBO Max because I heard a lot of people having difficulties with ordering the show on HBO Max. I do watch Dynamite every week on HBO Max, and I have no problems with it. I order my pay per views on YouTube, and it is completely flawless, and that will not stop. So, everything went fine with the stream on my end, but then the other thing people are complaining about is the brutality and the gruesome spots in the Texas Death Match. Now, I will admit, they fucking got me. They got me with that syringe spot, going all the way out, shooting liquid out of Hangman's cheek. Um, I thought that was a bit much. That was not what I wanted to see in my main event. But outside of that, we had a classic Texas Death Match. AEW, they always get creative. They always find things that we've never seen before take place in these matches. And when it comes to AEW and their Texas Death matches and their no DQ matches, they don't miss. It's very rare they don't miss. There's a couple they have. Exploding barbed wire, that was an absolute dud. Um, but most of the matches like this, they tend to be incredible. And that's exactly what that main event was. Um, there was a lot of good, I would say even great on this show. Um, the matches that needed to deliver absolutely delivered. Um, the match order of this show was weird. Um, it was like the top matches outside of the main event. The top matches were like in the first half of the show. And in the second half of the show, it was a lot of the mid card matches. Like the last two matches before the main event was the Andrade Bandito match and then the 6-man tag with the dogs. And that's when the crowd was starting to get tired because it's like, I guess you don't want them to get tired during your Swerve and Brody matches or your Moxley Okada matches, or Moxley Takeshita matches. I'm sorry. Um, I don't know. It just felt weird and it's just something new. But overall, I mean, this was a pretty phenomenal pay per view. Was it the best AEW pay per view that they've ever put on? I wouldn't go that far. Um, that's probably still all in from last year. I mean, you talk about the perfect show. That was the perfect show. Um, was all in Texas last year. Um, this was a pretty damn phenomenal show, though. We got four big returns, okay? Four. And we'll talk about all of them. Christian Cage and Cope, they're back. Kenny Omega's back. And the big one, after neck surgery in September. He got written off TV in August, but he didn't get the surgery until September. Will Ospreay is back 6 months after neck surgery. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Will Ospreay is back, and that is going to be a big boost for the product, the interest in AEW, and they have put him right back in with the Death Riders, which I love. I still want. I'm getting ahead of myself. I am getting ahead of myself, but we'll get there. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. We got a lot to talk about. It's gonna be a long one. It was a hell of a pay per view. It was a hell of a week too. If you haven't already, be sure to go out and check out everything. I'm not really gonna waste too much time with the promoting. Yesterday we did the Dolphins 2026 free agency recap. Um, I'll put that up in the last 20 seconds of this podcast. All you gotta do is click on it. It'll take you right to the podcast. But of course, don't do that until you've watched the entirety of the AEW Revolution podcast. Um, and then this week, pretty basic week, we will have Monday Night Raw later tonight, because it's Monday morning recording this. So later tonight, we'll have Monday Night Raw. And then Wednesday, I'll have Dynamite. And there will be no SmackDown review on Friday because I will be up in Philly all Friday for March Madness. So, no SmackDown review Friday, so just Raw and AEW this week upcoming. So, okay. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the show. We kicked off with the AEW Tag Team Championships. The Young Bucks, who have their entrance with their kids, versus the Tag Team Champions, FTR, who are wearing Boston Celtics colors in a Lakers stadium. That I loved. So, we got blood immediately in this match. And there was tons of blood in this show. You got a lot of blood. And we got blood off the gate in this first match with Nick Jackson getting his head bashed onto the announce table, came up gushing blood. So we'll start here. FTR with the spike pile driver on the ring apron to Matt Jackson, which he would be selling the shoulder for the rest of the match because of that. Nick Jackson, later on off the top rope, drop kicks Cash and hits a set time onto Dax, which was very nice. Then it was Matt going over to their kids, and it was his son giving him a mid-match prep talk to go after FTR. Dax immediately drops him on the apron, holds him up to his kids, tells him how pathetic he is, and he gets beer splashed right in his face. And then, because he didn't see, Cash Wheeler hit a suicide dive onto Dax. FTR is looking for a double suplex, and instead, the Young Bucks, they hit their own double suplex, and Nick got Cash over the ropes with ease. But when I tell you Matt Jackson barely lifted up Dax, I mean, he barely got him over the top rope. I didn't think he was going to do it, but he barely got Cash over the top rope. Then they throw them back in the ring, and it is a super kick party. They each hit 5 super kicks onto Dax and Cash. A double super kick to Cash. A double super kick to Dax. And Dax kicks out. Then they're looking for the Meltzer driver. And Stokely gets on his feet, holds Nick Jackson's rope. And Dax launches Nick Jackson into Cash for the Shatter Machine, but Nick Jackson kicked out. And then FTR, they start hitting their own super kicks. And they hit what they called the FTR trigger. Now, what happened next, we would see a lot on this show. That's another critique, is Nick Jackson kicked out at 1. And I thought that was appropriate for him to kick out at 1. That building exploded when Nick powered up and he got all fired up. And he got so fired up, he went to go take out Stokely on the outside. Matt hit a moonsault onto Dax. They hit the Meltzer driver onto Cash Wheeler, and Cash Wheeler kicked out. I thought the Young Bucks won the match right there. I really thought the Young Bucks won the match with that sequence right there. Suicide dive to Stokely, sitting on the wheelchair. A moonsault at Dax Harwood. Then you hit the Meltzer driver on Cash. I'm like, that is it. And Cash really kicks out. So, they get desperate. Matt gets taken out on the outside. Dax meets Nick Jackson on the top rope. He lifts him up. And he hits an avalanche shatter machine. Avalanche shatter machine to Nick Jackson. And that was it. FTR retained the tag team titles in an amazing tag team championship match. And I think they've wrestled each other, what, 4 times? Full Gear 2020. They wrestled each other on a Dynamite. They wrestled each other at All in 2023. Four. Before this, 4 times. And I think they were 2-2 going into it. So FTR is now up 3-2. I would say this was the better of. I would say this was the best match these two teams put on together. Either that or the All In match from 2023. But I would take this over that All In match. Now, we weren't done. We weren't done here. One of the things I was looking to see if it would happen tonight was the return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. We have not seen them since All Out. AEW has a Canada tour coming up in a couple weeks. Not in Toronto, but in Edmonton and Winnipeg and in Vancouver for Dynasty. And yes, I'm like, there's a couple things I want to see on this show tonight. One of them was Cope and Christian returning. And boom! Right off the bat, we got the return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Returning, taking out FTR, taking out Stokely. They hold up the tag team titles. The Young Bucks get in the frame. And that's it. So we got the return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage tonight. They took out Beth Phoenix, FTR did, at All Out. And I am assuming we will get this match at Dynasty. And I feel like if Cope and Christian are down for it, I think the end game with all of this needs to be Cope and Christian versus FTR versus the Young Bucks in a tables, ladders, and chairs match at All In. If they are down to do that match, you've got to do that at All In. I think that's got to be the end game of this. They're obviously going to do... They've got to do FTR versus Cope and Christian again. They've got to do Cope and Christian versus the Young Bucks. We've probably got one more year of Adam Copeland. I think Christian Cage can probably still go without Adam Copeland. But with Adam Copeland, there's a lot of times where he's in and he's out, and he's made a lot of returns in AEW, and now he's back. I think we've got maybe one good year left of Adam Copeland. So, if they're down for it, it feels like you have to do this match. So, I feel like they'll do Copa Christian versus FTR Dynasty. I feel like that's an easy layup. Whether or not FTR wins and they continue the feud, we'll see. But I feel like doing the FTR match at Dynasty, I feel like that's a given. And I feel like the TLC match with the Bucks and FTR for Copa Christian, I feel like that's a given too. So, I loved everything about this. That tag team match was amazing. I would absolutely give that 5 stars. And I am happy to see Cope and Christian back. I'm happy to see them back. We had Marina Shafir against Toni Storm. And the talking point of this would be after the match. But the match, their match was fine. It was fine. Marina took 3 hip attacks and a Storm Zero before she would kick out. And then she hit the mother's milk on Toni. Toni bit her tit, hit a headbutt, and that's how she won the match. And she's gloating up on stage until they pan back to the ring. And who's in the ring, you may ask? Ronda Rousey is standing in the ring. She's just standing there. And you got all these security guards and referees coming down to separate Toni Storm and Ronda Rousey before they got in each other's face. And Marina Shafir comes back and knocks her out. And then they go to the crowd, does Marina and Ronda. And then we go to our next match, which, ironically enough, is Jon Moxley's music. But Ronda Rousey, and I think I'm good on Ronda Rousey in AEW. No, thank you. We already have a solid women's division. You got wrestlers like Tekla and Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter and Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron. We don't need Ronda Rousey. Plus, what's Ronda Rousey gonna do when she's got a boxing fight on Netflix? Do they know who's on Netflix? WWE is on Netflix. Do you know what WWE is going to be promoting on Netflix? That boxing fight so that people could tune in for it on May 16th. So, I wasn't... I might have just lost my voice. Mid-review, I might have just lost my voice. Yeah, Ronda Rousey, I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not thrilled about it, man. Her first run in WWE was good. Her second run was completely awful, and I feel like it's Ronda Rousey in 2026. What does she have to offer? She's got nothing to offer. So, I hope this is not a full-time thing. Because like I just said, they have a pretty solid women's division in AEW. They don't need Ronda Rousey. Sorry, not sorry. Tony Khan doesn't need Ronda Rousey in the women's division. But let's move on. Jon Moxley versus Takeshita for the Continental Championship. And man, I told you guys when I reviewed Grand Slam, man, they had a fantastic match at Grand Slam. But it went to a draw. But it felt like coming out of it, I'm like, these guys left meat on the table. They left meat on the bone. And there's a reason for that. Because they were going to have this no time limit match at Revolution. And man, these guys went full guns blazing. This was hard hitting. This was physical. This was just an awesome pro wrestling match. I preferred the tag team match that we got before. But this was pretty damn awesome as well, man. So, um, we'll start here with Takeshita hitting the Rolling Thunder pile driver into the move where he lifts him up, hits him with the back German suplex. But Moxley stood right up, hit him with a clothesline, and Takeshita stood right up, hit him with a knee to the face. Takeshita, going into this match, had a black eye. Takeshita got a black eye. Moxley targeted it. And eventually, Takeshita started bleeding. Takeshita had a lot of blood pouring down his face. And he would hit a clothesline, but he missed. And then he would hit another one the second time around. Both guys standing up. They run to each other. Exploder suplex by Takeshita. Back German suplex by Moxley into another exploder suplex by Konosuke and Takeshita. Into another over the head suplex by Moxley. A forearm by Takeshita. A clothesline by Jon Moxley. And what you know, a 1 count. They didn't need to do a 1 count there. It was cool, but they did not need a 1 count for that spot. Come on, guys. Takeshita pulls down the knee pad, but his knee gave out. Moxley hit the Death Rider onto Takeshita. Takeshita kicks out. I'm like, ooh, Takeshita might win this. And that didn't happen. Actually, I'm wrong. I thought it ended when the Avalanche Death Rider, Takeshita kicked out of that Avalanche Death Rider. Moxley put him in the chokehold. And he passed out. And then after the match, Takeshita refused to shake Moxley's hand. But he thought about it. He's like, I did it my way. I didn't do it the Don Callis family way. I'm going to go shake this guy's hand. And that's what he did. And then, after the match, it gets even better. This might have been the highlight of the night. This might have been the biggest part of the entire show. The return of Will by God Ospreay. So they play a video package. They turn the light on. It's red inside. There's a doctor there. Will Ospreay has an oxygen mask. They're showing what happened at Forbidden Door. Ospreay is standing inside of some glass. They're showing Ospreay running. He's got his hand and then he closes it in a fist. There's a screen that says loading, loading. The doctor is very worried. Ospreay, he pulls off the oxygen. He drops it onto the floor. He lets out a big, huge, gigantic scream. And 6 months. Okay? 6 months after neck surgery, Will Ospreay returns to AEW. Will Ospreay is back. Will Ospreay is the injection that they need. He hits a hidden blade onto Moxley. He hits a corkscrew on the outside. Height was ridiculous. Onto Wheeler Yuta and Pac. He runs into the ring. He goes for another hidden blade. And then Moxley bails. Will Ospreay is fucking back. I couldn't be any happier. I couldn't be more excited. And Oh my God. Long term booking. Long term booking. Will Ospreay got taken out by these guys 7 months ago. And yes, I want Ospreay to go after the AEW World Championship. I want Ospreay to hoist up that AEW World Championship at Wembley Stadium this year. But we can't forget the people who took him out. Costed him 7 months of his career. Were the Death Riders. So he's got to go after them first. Do I think Ospreay should beat Jon Moxley? Honestly, I don't know. Because I want to see this guy go after the world title this year so bad. I feel like that's a layup. Is Ospreay versus MJF at All In? Maybe Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. Maybe Kenny Omega beats MJF down the line. But Will Ospreay is back. I'm fucking pumped. And we're going to get a Will Ospreay Jon Moxley match. And that shit is going to fucking rule. That is going to be fucking insane. Then we go to Megan Bayne and Lena Cross versus the Babes of Wrath. And I wasn't really paying attention much to this match, considering what just happened. But Lena Cross lost on 0 Hour, and she got her win back. Lena Cross pins Willow Nightingale to win the AEW Tag Team Championships for herself and Megan Bayne. And they're going by the Divine Dominion. That is their tag team name. I'm sorry I sound like complete shit, but it's been a long night dealing with allergies. You gotta bear with me, okay? It's been a long night. So Lena and Megan Bayne are the new AEW Tag Team Champions. Swerve Strickland versus Brody King. This was all about proving themselves as the most dangerous man in AEW. I thought this was a really good match. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story that they told. The story was that Swerve says he's the most dangerous man in AEW. Brody King is trying to prove him otherwise, saying that another man called him the most dangerous man. I'm going to prove it to you why. And this was a tough, physical match. Crowd was very into it from the beginning. They're fighting on the outside. They're literally 2 minutes in. Looks like Brody King's going for the roll, the set time, and Swerve hits the house call immediately. We get to the outside. Swerve rips off the barricade. He rips off the ledge from he rips off the mat. Rips off the ledge from the barricade, but he gets Yorinagi'd onto it by Brody King. Swerve would then expose the pad in between the ring post and the turnbuckle, take Brody's fingers, and he would start bending it backwards onto the exposed ledge between the turnbuckle and the ring post, bending it further and further and further. And then Brody later on would take Swerve and give him a back body drop onto the steel steps, which looked like it absolutely sucked. And this one looked like it looked worse. Um, a a deep six. That's what I was thinking of. Baron Corbin's move. Deep six onto the exposed concrete on the outside floor. Then Brody would go for a Gonzai bomb on the ring apron. Swerve would counter it, knock Brody to his feet, lift him up, hit a power bomb onto the hardest part of the ring, the apron. The guys are now fighting on the top rope, and Brody would hit a diving, like reverse body press off the top rope to Swerve. Then he would take it back to the outside. He's looking for Gonzo bomb onto the exposed concrete, but Swerve, he counters it. And just like how he hit Vertebreaker to Kenny Omega through the announce table, he hit Vertebreaker to Brody King on the exposed concrete floor. Then in the ring, a Swerve stomp to Brody King. This is after Brody got in at 9. And Brody kicked out at 1. I don't think we needed that again. After 1, kicking out at 1 time is fine. You don't do you don't gotta do it 3 times on the pay-per-view. It doesn't make it feel special. And then Swerve, he would hit 2 house calls. And after 2, Brody would get up. Swerve looked terrified. Swerve would hit another house call. And that would be it. Really good match. I enjoyed it. Swerve needed to win this match. Brody King is going to be just fine. And after the match, Nana went to get Swerve a cinder block. And Nana was holding Brody King's head down onto it. Swerve was going to stomp his head through the cinder block. But out came a returning Kenny Omega. The third return tonight. Incredible. Kenny Omega is back. And I'm telling you, with the amount of returns we got tonight, man, I mean, the card for Dynasty could be just as better as the Revolution card was tonight. So, we will see what happens. But after tonight, we got Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR, Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley, and Swerve Strickland versus Kenny Omega. If you're not fucking excited about that, man, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You just don't enjoy wrestling. You just don't enjoy wrestling. Or you're a tribalist and, you know, you're all WWE and you enjoy The Miz and Kit Wilson against Jelly Roll and Danhausen. Good for you, I guess. I need a drink. Ugh. We're only halfway through the show here, folks. We're only halfway here through the show. We have 2 out of 3 falls for the AEW Women's Championship. Chris Statlander challenging Tekla for the AEW Women's title. This match is what it is. It was a solid match. It's going to be a match nobody remembers tomorrow, though. They did the basic shit in a 2 out of 3 falls match. The first fall was very quick. Tekla rolled her up, grabbed the bottom rope, and Tekla's up 1-0. She's bragging she got the 1-0 lead. She got the first pinfall over Stat. The second fall begins. Excuse me. And Statlander. I need a drink. Statlander is going irate. She's taking Tekla. She's swinging her back and forth on the barricade. She comes up bleeding a little bit. And she ends up picking the second fall. Statlander does with the Saturday Night Fever. And it's 1-1. Then in the third fall, we get a ref bump. We get a ref bump in the third fall. And Tekla goes to the outside. And she takes off Paul Turner's belt. And she goes to whip Statlander with it. But Statlander takes the belt, elbows Tekla in the face. And she's the one who starts whipping Tekla with this belt. And then eventually, Julia and Sky Blue would come out. Statlander would whip them. But then Tekla would take advantage of that. Hit 2 curb stomps. Just as Paul Turner got in the ring. And Paul Turner slowly counted 1, 2, 3. So Tekla, she would retain the AEW Women's Championship in a, solid 2 out of 3 falls match. It wasn't anything special about this. I am glad Tekla did retain this title. Number one, she just won the title. And this is good for AEW because we're used to having Toni Storm and Mercedes and Chris Statlander. We're used to having them at the top of the division all the time. Now, I don't know where Chris Statlander is going to go from here. But right now is not her time. And honestly, what do you do? What do you do now that this feud is done? Who challenges Tekla next? Eventually we're going to get Toni Storm. They're going to go right back to Toni Storm sooner rather than later. What do we do in the meantime? What do we do before we get Toni winning the title? Because that's who's going to take the title from Tekla. When they match up for the title, forget about it. It's over. Toni will win that title again. What do you do in the meantime? That's what I'm curious about. Then we got our trios match for the trios titles. Jet Speed and Mystico, they all came out wearing Mystico masks, and they went up against Davis, Kyle Fletcher, and Okada. All of them came out wearing varsity jackets in different colors. So, Mystico and Okada. Mystico hits an arm drag onto Okada. Mystico gets the crowd clapping, and he hits a suicide dive onto Okada. The crowd was very quiet for the first half of this match, but they were able to get them in the second half. Davis would throw Speedball into the air, and Kyle Fletcher would hit him with a knee. He would then hit the kick to the corner on Kevin Knight, followed by a baseball slide elbow by Mark Davis into a beautiful drop kick by Kazuchika Okada. So the Don Callis family work it together pretty nicely. We got a triple suicide dive by Jet Speed and Mystico. Then we would have Jet Speed in the ring with Okada and Takeshita, or Okada and Fletcher. Elbows are being thrown. Bailey and Fletcher go to the ropes as Okada and Kevin Knight would hit drop kicks. And then Bailey and Fletcher later on, Bailey would hit a suicide dive onto Okada, a DDT by Kevin Knight onto Kyle Fletcher, and the match ended with Mystico in his submission hold onto Kyle Fletcher. Speedball holding Okada on the outside. Kevin Knight hitting the UFO splash onto Mark Davis. And they lost the trios titles last week. And Jet Speed are once again trios champions. This time with Mystico. And they throw up the graphic. Mystico is in tears. Jet Speed put their masks on. And it is official. Mystico is All Elite. So, you like fast-paced action? That was your match. I thought it was a great match. And I definitely thought Callis family should have held the titles a little bit longer. I would have given them probably till like Double or Nothing. But they were trios champions for a week. And now we move on to Andrade versus Bandito. And the first half of the match, it was the crowd popping for these two guys, taking their pants off. Yes, they had a great match. Andrade did end up winning, but I just felt like for how long the show was going and the crowd getting tired, I felt like this probably would have been better for TV. If I'm going to be honest, this match probably would have been better on an episode of Dynamite. I'm just being honest. Great match, but Andrade won. I would have done this on Dynamite. I would have done the next match on Dynamite too. The Dogs versus Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Darby Allin. And the Dogs lost. What? Tony, what are we doing, man? This is their first big match on pay-per-view. You got to push these guys as a trio. And they lose. Now, the feud's not going to be over because Darby zip-tied Gabe Kidd to the stage. So, Kidd was saying at the end, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker. Me and you are going to fight forever. I'm going to make you all this shit. So, the faces win, but the feud is still going to continue. I feel like we're going to get Darby and Gabe Kidd on Dynamite, and hopefully that's the big blow-off. And then we're done. We got the main event. The main event. Texas Death. Hangman Page. MJF. MJF came out in a cowboy gear. Enjoy this one, folks. Enjoy this one. This match was 46 minutes. This was a 46-minute main event. This match started at 11:48 and it ended at 12:34. This match was long, it was bloody, it was fucking violent as hell, and it was an outstanding main event. Outside of one spot, it was an outstanding match. So let's talk about it. They are running on the outside of the ring, and Hangman has a trash can lid. MJF is looking behind him. He doesn't see Hangman. He turns around. Hangman is right there. Boom. Trash can to the face. Hangman then has a staple. He staples MJF finger. He staples his other finger. And he has a piece of paper that says happy birthday on it. And he staples it to his chest. Don't worry. We got way more than that. That was not even as violent as we could get here. Hangman got a board of glass. MJF cut him off. MJF would take the board of glass. He would break it and give the crowd a big fuck you. And that was a massive mistake. Because in seconds, MJF would get power slammed onto the broken glass, laying on all over the ring canvas. And then he would try to crawl out the ring. And Hangman, he was dragging this motherfucker stomach first all over this glass. And that was a gruesome scene. Gruesome. And MJF was bleeding from that. And Hangman then takes a piece of barbed wire. And MJF is laying on his stomach. And he takes the barbed wire. And he lifts up MJF's head. And the barbed wire is between his mouth right here. And he lifts it up. And MJF is smiling while he's got barbed wire in his mouth. And that visual, man, I wish I could show you guys the picture. It was terrifying. Terrifying. It's like fucking Friday the 13th type of shit. MJF, then he would have to get down and dirty himself. He takes a piece of glass and just goes swoop, swipes it on his head. That's how Hangman starts bleeding. And then MJF, this was the funniest thing all match. MJF would take a broom, a sweeper, and he would just sweep the glass out the ring. I'm going to sweep it out the ring. I'm going to get this glass out of here. I thought that was funny. MJF always talks about how he hates indie trash, deathmatch wrestling trash. I ain't doing this indie trash, man. I love it. I love it. I laughed. And then, okay. This was the most disgusting spot. I was so uncomfortable watching this spot. He goes underneath the ring. He gets a syringe. I'm like, oh no, we can't be doing a syringe this early in the match. He opens his mouth. He takes a syringe. He puts it in his mouth. You can see the point of the syringe come through his cheek. And you can see the liquid squirting out of the syringe. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way... I get it. That spot's not for me, bro. That spot's not for me. I loved everything else in this match. if you're crying about the whole match, like if you're upset about this, I get it. I get it. If you have kids and you're watching this match with kids, you don't want your kids seeing this spot. I understand that. The whole match though, it's a Texas death match. What the fuck do you expect these guys to do in a Texas death match? They're gonna go out there, they're gonna kill themselves, they're gonna do some crazy fucking shit. That's what you expect. It's called Texas death. That spot was way too much though. Then he got the syringe out of his mouth. Thank God. Hangman grabbed a barbed wire steel chair and he gave him a dead eye on top of the chair. By the way, and he gave him another dead eye through a table. By the way, MJF was wearing Terry Funk inspired gear tonight. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he was wearing Terry Funk inspired gear in this match. So now they're just breaking tables. Deadeye through a table by Hangman. Pile driver through a table by MJF. And they both go on the opposite side. And they both grab light tubes. And I'm like, don't do this in the ring. Don't do this in the ring. Please do not do this in the ring. Luckily, they go up the stage with the light tubes. Thank goodness. God forbid something happens. Hangman takes a light tube. Well, he takes the first one. He takes the first one and he smacks it over his back. He breaks the light tube over his back. He then takes the one in MJF's hand. He lifts up his head to see MJF's head. And he hits the second light tube over MJF's head. And if MJF wasn't gushing blood before, he was gushing blood then. A sick spot. Again, light tubes. But I loved it. I loved it. We go back in the ring. And this time, it's time for skewers. It's time for skewers. And Hangman, I'm like, Hangman's got to take the skewers. MJF just took the light tube spot. This motherfucker got skewers put in his head too. So he is gushing. Folks, he is gushing blood. Okay? A buckshot lariat to MJF. And Hangman thinks he had this match won. But MJF gets up at 9 before he collapses. And he goes underneath the ring. And he gets what looks to be a chain. But it's not a chain. It's a dog collar. Hangman gets a dog collar. Flashback to 2022 with the dog collar match between MJF and CM Punk. One of the best matches I've ever seen in person. And MJF is like, oh no, not again, not again. Because he's getting flashbacks with the dog collar. And he tries to run, but he can't. Because he's attached to Hangman, who then elbows him in the face. Hangman would then get a table. And this crowd in Los Angeles is chanting, "We want fire," at this point. So Hangman's like, anybody got a lighter? No? Okay. I'm just going to grab a board of barbed wire and chains wrapped around it. And MJF takes his chain and he, woo! Right onto the barbed wire. Just nasty. Nasty spot right there. And then they're on the stage. They're both wrapped around the dog collar. And they have each other hugged. And at this point, you know what? Fuck it. It's right there. We're both going through this sound equipment. And they do, and we get a huge explosion. A huge explosion which sets off the sound equipment. And holy shit, Chance. This is awesome, Chance. And MJF hits a move. I can't remember what it was. But Hangman gets up at 9. And he stands immediately up to his feet. And Hangman gets advantage. And Hangman goes for the buckshot. MJF bails. He follows MJF. MJF hits him with the ring. Throws him over the top rope. Chokes the life out of him. Hangman passes out. And that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. MJF retains the AEW World Championship. And he retains in a classic Texas Death Match. Probably my favorite match of the entire year. Match of the night? Yes. Best 3 matches on the show were the Texas Death, the tag team title match, and the Jon Moxley Konosuke Takeshita match. As it should be, because those were the top 3 matches going into the show. Your top 3 matches should be the best matches on the entire show. And tonight they were. They were tonight. And again, it wasn't perfect. But when it comes to AEW, and it comes to their pay-per-views, they always fucking deliver. They always do. So, that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote on this review. I started at 12:52. It is now 1:45. Or 1:55. I'm sorry. It is 1:55. What a damn night. I love professional wrestling just as much as you do watching this. I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope you enjoy this AEW Revolution review. I went through no voice for a full hour, a crappy voice for 1 hour. I hope you guys enjoy the show tonight. Subscribe to the channel. Be sure to comment what you liked about the show, what you didn't like about the show. Let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you liked what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok. I'm going to go post a video on TikTok now. So go over to TikTok and follow me. Colin_Joseph, man. I'll see you guys later on for Monday Night Raw. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And I'm out. Peace.